What if strength is found not in what you acquire, but in what you are willing to cut away? A master sculptor creates a masterpiece not by adding clay, but by meticulously chipping away every piece of excess stone to reveal the powerful form that was always waiting within. Your soul is that block of stone, and a life of unshakable strength is waiting to be revealed. Cut these 5 things. Live with Stoic strength. Compiled and published by Stoic Dominion. Lesson 1. Approval addiction weakens inner core. Imagine a mighty oak tree, its roots digging deep into the earth, drawing strength from its own foundation. It does not bend or sway to win the approval of the shifting winds or the passing clouds. It stands firm in its own being, its existence validated by its own strength and its alignment with its own nature. Now picture a vine, clinging desperately to any structure it can find, its entire existence dependent on the support of something external. This is the inner conflict we face when we are addicted to the approval of others. We have an innate desire for connection, a healthy part of our social nature. But in a world of constant social feedback, this desire becomes twisted into a desperate, gnawing need for validation, turning us from a mighty oak into a clinging vine, constantly seeking a wall to lean on. The fundamental problem with an addiction to approval is that it forces you to build your life on the most unstable foundation imaginable, the opinions of other people. This addiction hijacks our most basic psychological reward systems. The like on a photo, the compliment on an outfit, the praise from a superior. These things trigger a small, temporary hit of dopamine, reinforcing the behavior. We begin to unconsciously tailor our actions to get another hit. This also manifests as a deep fear of conflict. The need for approval isn't just about feeling good, it's about avoiding the intense discomfort of disagreement. To avoid this friction, you soften your own opinions, you betray your own values, and you silence your own intuition. You become a chameleon, changing your colors to match your surroundings, losing any sense of your own true hue. This erodes your inner core, leaving you hollow and fragile. Your sense of self-worth becomes a roller coaster, rising and falling with every compliment or criticism. This is not a position of strength. It is a self-imposed prison of insecurity where other people are the wardens and you have willingly handed them the keys. It is a life lived in fear of social judgment, a fear of being cast out if you reveal your authentic self. The Roman philosopher Seneca warned against the madness of the crowd, and an approval addiction is a willing submission to that madness. The transformative solution is to deliberately and ruthlessly cut the cord of approval addiction. It is the conscious choice to build your self-worth from the inside out on the unshakable bedrock of your own character and principles. The core Stoic idea is that the judgment of a wise and virtuous person, yourself, is the only one that truly matters. This means cultivating a powerful inner judge, a rational and well-trained faculty of your mind that assesses your actions against your own highest principles, not against the fleeting whims of society. Building this inner judge is like training a muscle. It starts weak, accustomed to outsourcing its work to others, but with each deliberate act of self-assessment, it grows stronger. The opinions of the crowd, which are fickle, often irrational, and based on incomplete information, are externals that have no bearing on your true worth. By detaching your self-esteem from the praise or blame of others, you reclaim your psychological sovereignty. You cease to be the clinging vine and begin the slow, steady, and deeply satisfying work of becoming the oak. You can begin to cut this addiction with clear, actionable steps. The first is to practice making small decisions based solely on your own values, without consulting or considering the opinions of others. This could be as simple as choosing a book to read that no one is talking about, an outfit to wear that is out of fashion but that you love, or how to spend a free hour pursuing a solitary hobby. These are small acts of self-trust that build your inner strength. The second step is to practice voluntary disapproval. Deliberately take a small, harmless action that you know a friend or family member might mildly disapprove of. Perhaps it's admitting you haven't seen a hugely popular movie everyone is discussing, or stating a well-reasoned but unpopular opinion on a low-stakes topic. or even ordering a different dish at a restaurant when everyone else is getting the same thing. Allow yourself to feel the discomfort of their disapproval without changing your course. This acts as an inoculation, building your tolerance and proving to yourself that you can survive without universal validation. You are teaching your nervous system that social friction is not fatal. The benefits of this process are the benefits of true freedom. You will feel a profound sense of inner stability and peace, as your self-worth will no longer be on a roller coaster. You will develop the courage to be your authentic self, which will paradoxically earn you more genuine respect than your people-pleasing ever did. You may find that some superficial relationships fade away, but they will be replaced by deeper, more honest connections with people who are drawn to your true character. You will make decisions that are aligned with your deepest values, leading to a life of greater purpose and integrity. Your practice exercise is to identify one small thing you have been doing to gain someone's approval. This week, stop doing it. Reclaim that piece of your life for yourself and feel the solid ground of self-respect beneath your feet. Cutting away the need for approval is the first step, but this newfound inner core will be constantly threatened by our own emotional reactivity. In our next lesson, we will learn how to cut the strings of emotional reactivity to build Stoic control. If you're ready to find your strength, please like this video to show your support. Lesson 2. Emotional reactivity destroys Stoic control. Picture a calm, deep sea. A storm may rage on the surface, whipping the waves into a frenzy, but fathoms below, a profound stillness reigns. The depths are unmoved. This is the ideal of Stoic emotional control. Now picture a shallow puddle. The smallest stone tossed into it creates turmoil that churns up all the mud and debris from the bottom. The entire body of water is disturbed. This is the state of a reactive mind. The inner conflict we face is between our desire to be the deep sea, calm, stable, and clear, and our tendency to be the shallow puddle, allowing every minor provocation, insult, or inconvenience to throw our entire inner world into chaos. A careless comment from a partner, a driver cutting us off in traffic, a critical email from our boss. These are the small stones that churn our inner puddle into a muddy mess. The problem with emotional reactivity is that it completely destroys your ability to act with reason and purpose. When you are in a reactive state, consumed by anger, frustration, or anxiety, your higher rational mind goes offline. You are operating from your most primitive, instinctual brain. This is when you say things you can't take back, make impulsive decisions that you later regret, and damage relationships through uncontrolled outbursts. Think of a minor disagreement over a household chore that explodes into a screaming match about deep-seated resentments. That is the chain reaction of reactivity. One person's reaction triggers the others, and the original issue is lost in a firestorm of emotion. Each reactive outburst is like taking on emotional debt. You get a short-term, satisfying release of pressure, but you pay for it later with the high interest of regret, apologies, and lost trust. A life of reactivity is a life of constantly paying off these self-inflicted debts. Each reactive episode is a surrender of your self-control. It proves to yourself and to others that you are not the master of your own mind, but a slave to your fleeting emotions and the external events that trigger them. The transformative solution is to cut the connection between an external trigger and your internal response. It is the disciplined practice of creating a space of silence between what happens to you and how you choose to react to it. The core Stoic wisdom here is that events themselves do not disturb us, but our judgments about those events do. An insult is just words. A traffic jam is just cars. It is our internal judgment. This is a terrible injustice. This is ruining my day. That creates the emotional storm. By learning to observe the event without immediately attaching a catastrophic judgment, you can maintain your inner stillness. This state of freedom from the tyranny of irrational passions is what the Stoics called apatheia. It is not a lack of feeling, but a lack of being controlled by feeling. You can become the deep sea, acknowledging the storm on the surface without letting it disturb your depths. This space you create is the birthplace of your freedom. You can begin to sever this reactive link with 2 powerful, actionable practices. The first is to implement the sacred pause. The moment you feel the hot flush of a strong emotional reaction, commit to pausing. Do not speak, do not act. Simply take 1 deep, deliberate breath. This single second is a revolutionary act. It is like opening a door in time, giving you the chance to walk through a different entryway into a different future. One of calm response instead of regretful reaction. During this pause, you can practice a visualization. See yourself as the deep, calm sea, and picture the provocation as a single wave on the surface that cannot possibly touch your profound stillness below. The second practice is to rigorously question your initial judgment. Ask yourself, is this interpretation of events absolutely true? Is there another, more rational way to see this? For example, instead of, he is trying to disrespect me, you could ask, is it possible he is just having a bad day and this has nothing to do with me? The benefits of cutting emotional reactivity are profound. You will experience a dramatic increase in your sense of peace and control. You will stop creating unnecessary suffering for yourself and those around you. Your relationships will improve as you cease being a source of volatile, unpredictable energy. You will gain a reputation for being level-headed and wise, a person who can be counted on in a crisis. You will go from a life of constantly putting out the fires you yourself have started to a life of calm, preventative action where fires rarely ignite. You will, in essence, become the calm in the storm. Your practice for this lesson is to identify your most common emotional trigger. For the next week, make it your sole mission to implement the sacred pause every single time that trigger appears. Once you have begun to master your inner world, you must turn your attention to your outer world. In our next lesson, we will discuss the necessity of cutting yourself off from toxic environments that drain your mental focus. Please subscribe to Stoic Dominion to continue this journey of building an unshakable life. Lesson 3. Toxic environments drain mental focus. Imagine a skilled gardener trying to cultivate a rare and beautiful orchid. The gardener can have the best seeds, the most profound knowledge, and the most diligent work ethic. But if they try to plant that orchid in toxic, barren soil, it will wither and die. The environment is paramount. Your mind is that rare orchid, capable of immense growth, beauty, and strength. The inner conflict we face is our tendency to remain in toxic environments. Be it a soul-crushing job, a friend group built on negativity and gossip, or a digital space filled with outrage and comparison, hoping that we can somehow be the exception and flourish where nothing else can. We tell ourselves we are strong enough to withstand it, but we fail to account for the relentless, invisible drain. The problem is that a toxic environment acts as a constant, low-grade poison to your mind. It relentlessly drains your most precious resources, your focus, your willpower, and your optimism. Think of it as a form of psychological gravity. In a healthy environment, the gravity is normal and you can walk, run, and jump with ease. In a toxic environment, the gravity is 3 times as strong. Just standing upright requires immense effort, leaving you no energy for anything else. This toxicity isn't always overt. It can be a passive toxicity of low ambition, apathy, and cynicism. This kind of environment doesn't attack you, it sedates you. It slowly lowers your standards and dims your own inner fire without you even noticing. A negative workplace fills your mind with stress and cynicism that you then carry home to your family. A gossiping social circle trains your mind to focus on the petty and the negative, eroding your character. You cannot build an inner fortress of stoic calm when you are voluntarily living in a territory that is constantly bombarding you with psychological artillery. The transformative solution is to perform a courageous act of psychological gardening, to identify and decisively cut yourself off from the toxic soil in your life. The core Stoic idea here is one of triage and conservation of energy. The Stoics were not passive. They were strategic about where they invested their attention and effort. They understood that you have a finite amount of mental and spiritual energy each day. To waste it fighting a perpetually toxic environment is a strategic error. True strength lies in having the wisdom to recognize when a piece of ground is barren and the courage to move your garden elsewhere. This act of cutting is not a sign of weakness or failure. It is an act of profound self-respect and strategic wisdom. It is an act in service of your arit, your own personal excellence, by choosing to place yourself in soil where your virtue can best flourish. It is like a general making a calculated retreat to save their army for a battle that actually matters. You can begin this process of detoxification with these clear, actionable steps. First, conduct an environmental audit. For 1 week, keep a simple log. Note which people, places, and activities leave you feeling drained, cynical, or anxious. And note which leave you feeling energized, inspired, and strong. This data is your map to the toxic soil. The second step is to create distance. You don't always have to perform a dramatic cutting off, especially with family. Often, the first step is to simply reduce your exposure and set firm boundaries. Spend less time with the negative friend. Unfollow the social media accounts that make you feel inadequate. The third step is to acknowledge the potential for grief. Even when leaving something toxic, there can be a sense of loss for the good times or the relationship you wished you had. Allowing yourself to feel this without letting it alter your wise decision is part of the process. The benefits of cutting out toxic environments are like moving a dying plant into fertile soil. You will feel a massive return of mental energy and focus. Your baseline level of happiness and optimism will rise significantly. You will experience a reawakening of your own ambitions and creativity. You will find it infinitely easier to practice all the other Stoic habits because you are no longer fighting a constant headwind of negativity. You will create the space necessary for your own mind, your orchid, to truly flourish and grow into its full potential. Your practice exercise is to identify the single greatest source of toxicity in your life from your audit. This week, take one concrete step to reduce your exposure to it by 25%. Cutting away negative environments frees up immense energy, but that energy can be quickly squandered if it is channeled into the pursuit of endless desires. In our next lesson, we will learn why we must cut our attachment to these desires to find rational clarity. Let us know in the comments one change you plan to make to your mental soil. Lesson 4. Endless desires blur rational clarity. Picture an archer, a master of their craft, standing before a target. Their mind is clear, their arm is steady, and their focus is singular. They see only the bullseye. Their entire being is aligned with a single, clear purpose. Now imagine a second archer, but this one is standing in a hall of mirrors, surrounded by 1,000 glittering, desirable objects, piles of gold, exotic foods, beautiful distractions. Their gaze is constantly shifting from one desirable thing to another, never resting on the true target. Their focus is fragmented. Their aim is unsteady. They may have a bow and arrow, but they have lost the clarity required to be an archer. This is the inner conflict between our capacity for focused, rational purpose and the pull of our endless, shifting desires. The problem is that a mind captivated by endless desires is a mind that has lost its ability to think clearly. The constant pursuit of more money, more status, more possessions, more pleasure, creates a state of perpetual dissatisfaction and mental noise. This is the hedonic treadmill. You run, and each time you acquire something you desire, you feel a brief moment of pleasure before your baseline happiness resets, and you find yourself needing to run towards an even bigger, more distant desire. You are always looking toward the next acquisition, the next goal, the next fleeting pleasure, and you are never fully present or content with what you have. This blurs your rational clarity. You start making decisions not based on your core values or long-term purpose, but based on the short-term goal of satisfying your next craving. You become the scattered archer, chasing glittering objects while forgetting your true target in life. The transformative solution is to cut your attachment to the outcome of your desires and instead attach yourself to the quality of your actions. It is the practice of finding satisfaction in the disciplined pursuit of your goals, rather than making your happiness contingent on achieving them. The core Stoic wisdom here is Epictetus's foundational teaching. Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. Our actions, our intentions, our character, these are up to us. The outcomes, wealth, health, reputation, are not fully up to us. A Stoic can prefer these outcomes. They are preferred indifference. The error is to become attached to them, to make your inner peace dependent on them. By shifting your focus from the external, uncontrollable outcome to the internal, controllable action, you reclaim your peace and your clarity. You become the master archer who finds a deep, abiding joy and purpose in the art of the shot itself. In the perfect form, the controlled breath, the clean release, regardless of where the arrow lands. You can begin to cut the chains of desire with these practical Stoic exercises. The first is the practice of negative visualization. Regularly take a few moments to imagine losing the things you currently have. Sit quietly. Picture your favorite possession. Now imagine it's gone. Feel the initial pang of loss. Then notice that you are still here. Your character, your mind, your strength remain. Realize your well-being is not tied to that object. This fosters a deep gratitude for what is already yours. The second step is to practice voluntary discomfort. By occasionally choosing to do without a certain comfort, fasting for a meal, taking a cold shower, you prove to yourself that your happiness is not dependent on a constant state of pleasure. You are breaking the link between wanting and needing, building your resilience against desire. The benefits of this practice are profound. You will experience a deep sense of inner peace and contentment that is not dependent on external circumstances. Your mind will become clear and focused, free from the constant noise of craving. You will make better long-term decisions because you will be guided by your values, not your appetites. You will find a new and powerful form of motivation, the intrinsic joy of acting with excellence and virtue, which is a source of fuel that never runs out. Your practice for this lesson is to choose one thing you desire. For the next week, consciously shift your focus from the desire itself to the excellence of the actions you are taking in its pursuit. Find joy in the process, not just the prize. The desires we chase are often fueled by a need for a specific kind of approval, shallow validation. In our final lesson, we will learn why we must cut this out to build true self-respect. Subscribe to Stoic Dominion to complete this path of liberation. Lesson 5. Shallow validation erodes self-respect. Imagine a great ship, built of solid oak and iron, designed to cross vast oceans. Its integrity comes from its internal construction, from the strength of its own frame, from the quality of the unseen work done by its builders. It is seaworthy. Now imagine another vessel, one made of flimsy material but covered in bright, shiny decorations designed to win admiration from the people on the shore. This decorated vessel may look impressive in the harbor, but it is not seaworthy. It will shatter in the first real storm. Your self-respect is that ship. The inner conflict we face is the temptation to build a decorated, flimsy ship, a self-image based on shallow validation, rather than doing the hard, unseen work of building a strong, solid one. The problem with seeking shallow validation, the likes on social media, the fleeting compliments on your appearance, the praise for superficial accomplishments, is that it fundamentally erodes true self-respect. It's crucial to distinguish between self-respect and self-esteem. Self-esteem can be based on externals. I feel good because people praised my work, which makes it volatile and fragile. Self-respect is based on internal action. I feel a solid sense of worth because I know I acted with integrity even when it was hard. When you make external validation your primary source of worth, you are admitting to yourself that you do not trust your own internal judgment. This pursuit of shallow validation also fuels procrastination on meaningful work. We often choose the easy, quick dopamine hit of posting a selfie over the difficult, unglamorous, long-term work of mastering a skill or building a business. You are building your house on the shifting sands of public opinion, not the solid rock of your own character. The transformative solution is to completely cut your dependence on shallow validation and to focus solely on earning your own self-respect. It is the choice to build the solid, seaworthy ship, even if it has none of the flashy decorations. The core Stoic idea is that the only true measure of a man is his character. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not for an audience, not for likes or shares, but for himself, as a private practice to clarify his thoughts and reinforce his principles. This is the ultimate act of internal validation. The goal is to live by an inner scorecard, where the only score that matters at the end of the day is your own honest assessment of your own character. Did I act with courage? Did I act with justice? Did I keep my promises to myself? This is the only judgment with real weight. You can begin this crucial shift with these two powerful, actionable steps. First, go on a validation fast. For a set period, perhaps a week, refrain from posting anything on social media. Do not seek out compliments. When you receive one, simply say thank you and move on, without letting it become the highlight of your day. The goal is to starve the part of you that craves shallow validation and to force it to look inward for sustenance. The second step is to create a new source of validation, a done list focused on character. At the end of each day, instead of a to-do list, write down a list of the hard, virtuous things you did that day. Be specific. Instead of worked out, write, I kept my promise to myself to go to the gym even when I was tired. This explicitly links the action to the virtue of integrity and discipline, which is the raw material of self-respect. The benefits of this final cut are the benefits of true integrity and inner peace. You will be liberated from the exhausting, endless treadmill of seeking external approval. You will develop an unshakable core of self-respect that will be your anchor in any storm. Your confidence will become real and durable based on what you know you have done, not on what others think of you. You will shift from being a performer who needs an audience to a craftsman who finds deep satisfaction in the quality of the work itself. You will finally be free to pursue what is truly meaningful to you, not what will get you the most likes. Your practice for this final lesson is to start your character-focused done list tonight. Write down at least 3 things you did today that earned your own respect. Feel the quiet, solid power in that. You have learned the 5 critical things to cut from your life to build Stoic strength. The addiction to approval, emotional reactivity, toxic environments, endless desires, and shallow validation. Each cut is an act of liberation, chipping away the excess stone to reveal the powerful, unshakable person you were always meant to be. Thank you for your commitment to this journey with Stoic Dominion. If this video has provided you with value, please support our channel by liking, commenting with your insights, and subscribing for more wisdom on the path to a stronger, more virtuous life.